There's something about a lonely road at night that drills right into your soul. The way darkness spreads like a living thing, swallowing the trees, the signs, the very air around you. When you're driving those long stretches of pavement, surrounded by thick forest, somewhere far from the buzz of civilization, it's easy to feel vulnerable. This is one of those stories. A group of 4 friends, Mark, Jessica, Tyler, and Amy, decided to take a weekend road trip deep into the Pacific Northwest. Nothing fancy, just escaping the concrete jungle for a few days, to camp under the stars and forget about work, phones, and everyone else. They laughed along the way, the radio playing classic rock as the sun dipped below the horizon. But as the trees grew thicker and the sky darker, a strange unease started to creep in. Their plan was simple: drive until they found a good spot to camp. The GPS said just a few more miles to a rest area hidden in the forest. But when they arrived, the place was deserted, far more than they expected. The silence was deafening. No campers, no other cars, just the rustling of leaves and the distant call of owls. They shrugged it off and set up camp near an old clearing. The fire crackled, casting eerie shadows that danced on the ancient trees. They told ghost stories to keep the mood light, but even those tales felt heavier here. Hours passed. Then came the first strange sound. A whisper, soft and just beyond the edge of hearing, like breath on the back of their necks. Tyler, probably some animal, but Jessica wasn't so sure. She swore she saw a flicker of movement in the shadows, just past the firelight. Something tall, standing perfectly still. Her shout made the others turn their flashlights toward the spot, but nothing was there. Probably just a deer, Mark said, forcing a laugh. They tried to relax, but the feeling didn't leave. Then, about midnight, Tyler noticed footprints, not animal tracks. These were too large, too human, and oddly spaced, as if someone walked carefully through the underbrush, avoiding every twig and leaf. No other person was supposed to be around. No campers, no hikers. Amy joked, maybe Bigfoot's real after all. But Jessica's skin crawled. Suddenly, the temperature dropped sharply. The fire sputtered and nearly went out. From the corner of Mark's eye, he caught movement. Slowly, silently, a shadowy figure stepped from the trees, tall. The cabin in the woods. Escalation of fear. The group's nerves were shredded now, but no one wanted to admit just how scared they were. After extinguishing the fire quickly, they retreated to their tents, hoping that the darkness outside was more imagination than reality. Sleep didn't come easy. Every crack of a twig, every sigh of the wind set their hearts racing. Jessica lay awake, clutching her flashlight tightly, eyes darting toward the inky blackness. Around 3 a.m., Amy woke everyone with a panicked whisper. She claimed she'd heard footsteps circling their camp, slow and deliberate, yet silent enough to give no hint of direction. Mark grabbed his phone to turn on the flashlight app, which barely pierced the darkness, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw it again, a silhouette, standing just at the tree line, watching. Tyler jumped up. "Who's there? Show yourself." Silence. Then a chilling laugh, low and guttural, echoing in the cold night. The friends grabbed their belongings and decided to pack up immediately. No one wanted to stay another second in that cursed place. They drove along the winding forest road with headlights cutting through the fog, but the feeling of being followed didn't ease. Every glance in the rearview mirror revealed shapes ducking behind trees, or the faintest glow where no light should have been. Eventually, they spotted something unexpected, a small cabin, its windows dark, nestled beside the road. A flicker of hope sparked. Maybe they could find help or at least rest somewhere safer. They approached cautiously and knocked on the door. No answer. Jessica's phone lost signal. Tyler shone his flashlight through the grimy window, revealing an empty room covered in dust, with old furniture shrouded in cobwebs. Just as they turned away, a sound came from inside. Soft footsteps pacing slowly. Mark froze in place. "Did you hear that?" Jessica nodded, her voice barely audible. "Someone's here."
Inside the cabin, the unseen presence, the gap in the door barely revealed the darkness within. Yet, it was enough to ignite their worst fears. The space beyond seemed endless, a void swallowing any hint of light or warmth. Mark stepped forward cautiously. "We can't just leave without knowing what we're dealing with." Jessica swallowed hard. Maybe we shouldn't be here at all. Despite the unease, necessity pushed them forward. They slipped inside, shutting the door quietly behind them. The air was thick with dust and a decay so profound it almost felt alive, pressing against their skin. Their flashlights cut uneven beams through the gloom. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet, and every shadow seemed to stretch and warp just out of reach of their sights. A sudden cold gust brushed past like a whispered warning. They spun toward the hallway where the door closed, only to find it firmly shut. Amy tried the handle, locked tight. "We're trapped," she muttered, voice trembling. Then came the faintest sound, soft footsteps, slow, pacing, growing nearer. Tyler tried to rationalize. Maybe someone's playing a prank, but the silence that followed was too heavy, too unnatural. Jessica's light flickered, and in that split second, a face appeared in the darkness at the end of the hall, pale, gaunt, eyes hollow and ancient. She screamed, stumbling backward, heart pounding like a drum. The face vanished. Mark urged, "We need to find another exit." Now, as they searched, the cabin seemed to shift around them, walls closing in, shadows deepening. Strange markings appeared on the wallpaper, symbols none could explain, but somehow felt sinister. The feeling of being watched grew unbearable. Objects moved just out of sight. Whispers echoed from thin air. In one room, Amy found a tattered journal. Its pages told a story of a family who once lived here, tormented by something unseen that drove them to madness and disappearance. Fear turned to terror as the lights flickered again, and a chilling voice whispered from the darkness, "You should never have come." Confrontation with the entity. The words echoed off the walls, chilling them to their core. The air grew colder, and the shadows deepened into thick darkness. The cabin seemed to close in like a beast ready to trap its prey forever. Mark's voice trembled as he whispered, "We have to get out." Now, they rushed back down the hall to the front door, but the lock stubbornly refused to budge. Panic clawed at their throats as they scrambled to find another exit. Jessica spotted a narrow staircase leading downward. A basement, perhaps. It was their only option. With shaking legs, they descended into the suffocating darkness, footsteps echoing hollowly as they went deeper into the bowels of the cabin. The basement was damp and oppressive, filled with old relics, broken furniture, and strange symbols scrawled in dark red paint that seemed fresh. A faint, unsettling hum filled the space, vibrating through their bones. Suddenly, the faint glow of a candle flickered in the corner. Drawn like moths, they approached, but found an altar surrounded by ritualistic objects, bones, dried herbs, and an old photograph of a woman who looked eerily familiar. Her eyes seemed to follow them. Suddenly, a hideous growl erupted behind them. They spun around just in time to see a grotesque shadow, an entity, half seen and half felt, lunging at them with unnatural speed. Screams filled the basement as the presence pursued their every step. Amy tripped and fell, her scream piercing the night. Mark helped her up, dragging her through narrow corridors as the entity closed in. At the bottom of the stairs, Mark saw a small window, broken but just big enough to squeeze through. One by one, they scrambled through, gasping for breath as fresh air hit their faces like salvation. They didn't stop running until the cabin was nothing more than a distant silhouette against the starry sky. The haunting continues. The friends finally reached the safety of their car, breathless and shaking. But the nightmare wasn't over. As Mark started the engine, the radio crackled unnervingly, despite being out of signal range. Jessica's phone buzzed with a message, but when she looked, it was an old black and white photo of the cabin, with a shadowy figure standing behind them. Tyler tried to laugh it off, but even he felt the cold weight settling in his chest. That night, sleep did not come easily. Each dream was haunted by flickering shadows and distant whispers. In the following days, strange incidents plagued them. Doors creaked open on their own, lights flickered, and footsteps echoed where no one walked. Amy claimed she saw the pale woman from the photograph, standing outside her window at midnight, vanishing the moment she blinked. Jessica's nightmares grew worse. Some nights she would wake screaming, clutching unseen fingers that tried to drag her back into darkness. They tried speaking to locals about the cabin, but the town fell silent, faces turning pale. The place was infamous, a site of vanished travelers, whispered curses, and dark pasts. Years later, they still don't talk about that trip much. Some wounds are too deep, some fears too real. To those who wander the lonely roads, beware. The night may look peaceful, but the shadows hide secrets waiting to be awakened. Keep your eyes open and never travel alone.